Alright, y'all. Listen, trying to wait. We're gonna talk about what I think about this whole Travis Scott bullshit, right? The whole Astroworld thing in terms of the like, regardless what people will tell you, the majority of people that I've personally seen talking about this, that I've personally seen in person talking about this and on YouTube, they all say they're like, that they're all just jumping to the satanic shit. You see what I'm saying? They do not believe. I even tried to like be devil's advocate for a second, because I was like, I made a whole career off being devil's advocate. So I said, look, think about it like this. Woodstock 99, much smaller crowd. You see what I'm saying? People started dying from dehydration. Then riots started because people was mad about that. You see what I'm saying? If they made, you see what I'm saying? If they had to resell the tickets or whatever, if they had to refund or whatever, there's no making that event there in that size again if they do that. So you know people are going to be mad that they're going to have to, and then if they have to do two events, I already made a whole video about that. Anyways, we're going to talk about the other shit. The shit that everyone says is what the reasoning is and da-da-da-da, right? So they all are jumping to this sacrifice shit. That's what we're going to talk about. All the elements needed to do that, they're there. Okay, they're all there. You look at this shit, it's all there. You know? But in terms of like the other like in terms of like what's going on, if that happened and it was really that, God is in such a way right now where he's like, look, it's like, there's some shit where God will let it slide in regards to Satan. And then there's some shit, like, there's more like points where, like, God, like, imagine God like a federal agent, right? Imagine God like a federal agent, and the people that Satan is controlling, that's like Bin Laden and all that motherfuckers, right? You ever seen the movie Zero Dark 30? Imagine God like that guy who keeps the waterboarding that guy in Zero Dark 30, right? But except there's no, like, he doesn't want the information, and this shit does not stop. Because Satan dies every time he goes to sleep. God can't die. Satan dies every time he goes to sleep, eating himself with his 3 heads. So now he's dying every time he goes to sleep. Not only killing himself, but being killed by God at the same time. Tortured to death, too. Until, you see what I'm saying? That's how I sort of picture it playing out in my head, right? And what God wants is he don't want the information. He want us to have the information. You see what I'm saying? He knows right now is a pivotal moment because he has just enough people that believe in him. And if he loses any significantly more people, or like, the thing about that whole crowd, right? That makes them prime victims. A high percentage, I promise you, had no faith. You see what I'm saying? If you have faith, it acts like a shield against that. Whether it's Islam, whether it's Christianity, whether it's Judaism. If you have some type of faith other than that, like, you have to understand, all faith is a karma. You see what I'm saying? Like Buddha, that's why I love Buddhism, right? It's a balance. You have to have one to have the other. But keep in mind, Satan's not like you think. Hell is not a prison run by Satan. Satan is a prisoner in that prison. It's autonomous. Like, the only thing I believe that, like, is a ally of God that always lives there too is the Minotaur that guards like one ring of hell. And I believe Dante's is a pretty accurate example of how that shit works. Really, I'm holding a video on that, but I really do. So like I said, man, I think everything was there for that to be a sacrificial type of thing. I think all the pieces were in play that needed to be there. They had the element of fire. They had the imagery. The imagery was made of the right materials. The symbolism was made of the right materials. They had metal in a lot of places. It's a good channel. Wood, good channel. They had a lot of shit that's a good channel, you feel me? And they also had the, fuck up the lights. They also had the element of, well, look, we got all these, think about how many people went down. They knew, like, what they needed to do, man. You ever seen, I forget what show, I think it was Charmed or something, like, the motherfucker Balthazar, he always appears in the fire. Just think about that. And the fact that, like, nobody is coming out and saying, oh, well, we were scared that because we couldn't just reschedule this shit, everyone was, like, that demographic, especially on drugs, keep in mind, is primed to riot. Especially with that type of, they are primed to riot. I'm not lying to you. Look at who died in the Kenosha shooting, right? Look at the Anthony Huber shit. They were all 18 to 30 in that range, mainly the 18 to 28, 29. You know what I'm saying? That age just before 30 where I'm at. So you gotta really think. I don't even know what I did with my lighter. You gotta really take into account like all the shit that's at play. But I do know that if this shit was done for satanic reasons, and that was some type of ritual, God's looking at that like he can get the whole, like, you know how I remember on the War on Terror, there was that deck of 52, like, and Bin Laden was the ace of spades? It's the same shit. He looking at, like, the whole shit, like, oh, I could take out damn near a quarter of the deck, Satan. And I need to, because he knows that without the influence, he can't do shit. Can't do shit. That's what, you know what I'm saying? If you look with entertainment, God don't like fucking with the music shit, especially. But whenever Satan, like, for example, R&B came out, then gospel did. Oh, excuse me, R&B and jazz came out, then gospel did. You see what I'm saying? Rock came out way later on, because I think he really didn't like imagine God like old man, too. Not just a very but old man, where he's like, it's a lot of shit he really don't want to budge on, but the angels is like, but God, listen, man, for real. You kind of need to, God, like, and the guy's like, fine. I feel like he was like that with marijuana and drugs. I feel like people have been using drugs for thousands of years. They're like, God, listen, man, I know that you don't like this drug shit, but these people do, man. You gotta just, you slide on that because God's been billions of years old, thousands of years. He's like, fine. Probably in the 90s, he was like, you know what, fine. You know, so you gotta think about it like this, man. Could it be that? Yeah. And the fact that they're not saying it's anything else, they're not saying nothing, that suggests a lot of shit. And the climate that Texas and the federal government is at, and the relationship the federal government has with them motherfuckers, just think. So, I know one thing. I know God, on top of making sure that Satan exposes shit and brings this shit to light, because that's what does it. God go down there and he get through all them rings of hell with his top angels, and he go interrogate that motherfucker. Calls the Minotaur before he goes down there and says, yo, get big guy ready for interrogation. You see what I'm saying? Like, get him prepped for that shit. You see what I'm saying? Like, Minotaur goes and says, Satan, you got visitation. You know what I'm saying? Like, so he says, like, go to medical. Say chained up, he can't go medical. But no, what I'm saying is, yeah, like, trust me, if that shit was done for that, in this time, in this age, in this climate, we're going to find out it was done for that. I'm not saying that that's what, but I know if it was, we will. Because God can't afford it for it not to happen. Easy, yo.